I did not expect my whole view of my boss and his wife to change because of one drunk night and a long drive home. It started at the company New Year's Eve party, the kind with cheap decorations and open bar, so management could say they did something for the team. The music was loud, the lights were low, and people were already grabbing their coats and calling rides. The energy in the room had shifted from fun to tired. Everyone just wanted to leave. I was standing by the coat check table, digging through a pile of jackets trying to find my black one. That was when I saw his hand slip. Mr. Peterson's fingers slid off his whiskey glass. The drink tipped, almost spilled, then rocked back at the last second when he caught it. His reflexes worked just enough to save the alcohol, not enough to look normal. He was sitting alone at the far end of the bar. Mr. Peterson, my department head for the last 4 years. The man who led our meetings every Tuesday at 9 a.m. sharp. The one who signed my vacation forms and sent short, direct emails with no emojis. Ever. We were not close. He was my boss. I was just another marketing guy trying not to mess anything up. But seeing him slouched over that bar did something to my chest. His tie was loose, his top button undone. His suit jacket was draped over the empty stool next to him like a ghost had been sitting there and walked away. His shoulders were hunched, and there was a heaviness around him that I had never seen in the office. Amanda from HR walked right past him with her phone in her hand, laughing at something on the screen. She did not even glance in his direction. Kevin from operations followed, already wrapped in his winter coat. He nodded at me on his way out, and then he was gone. Even Lisa, his assistant, the person who sat outside his office all day, hurried past with her scarf already on, eyes on the door. No one stopped. No one asked if he was okay. No one seemed to notice that our boss looked like he might slide right off that stool and crash onto the floor. My grandmother's voice popped into my head out of nowhere. Walking away is easy, she used to tell me. Staying when someone needs you, that is what separates good people from everyone else. I stood there with my hand on my jacket and my heart beating too fast. I could walk out like everyone else, pretend I did not see him, go home, sleep, and show up to work on Tuesday like nothing happened. Or I could stay. I took a breath and let go of my coat. My legs felt a little weak as I crossed the room. The closer I got, the more I could see how bad he looked. His eyes were unfocused, sliding around the room like they could not decide where to land. "Mr. Peterson?" I said softly when I reached him. "You doing okay?" He lifted his head like it weighed 100 pounds. His gaze moved past me, then back again, then finally stayed on my face. "I am fine," he mumbled. The words were thick and slow. Just fine, heading home soon. I had seen drunk people before, my uncle at family barbecues, college parties, but seeing my boss like this felt different, like I was peeking into a part of his life I was not supposed to see. "Did you drive here?" I asked. He frowned, confused by the question. "Of course," he said. "I always drive. I will drive myself back." My stomach dropped. He could barely sit up straight. The idea of him behind the wheel of his silver Audi on wet Chicago streets made my skin go cold. "I do not think that is a good idea, sir," I said. The word "sir" felt strange right then, too formal for the way he was slumped over. "I am perfectly capable," he insisted, but as he said it, he swayed to the side. His elbows slipped off the bar and he had to grab the edge to stop himself from falling. "Please," I said, "let me give you a ride. My car is outside. I am heading out anyway. You can get your car tomorrow." He stared at me for a long moment. Something in his expression shifted. The usual strict look he wore at work was gone. In its place was something sad, so tired and sad it made my throat feel tight. "You are a good person," he said quietly. "Better than most people here tonight." I did not know how to answer that, so I did not. I just picked up his suit jacket and held it out. He took it, but did not put it on. He just let it rest across his lap. Getting him off the bar stool was harder than I expected. When he tried to stand, his knees buckled. I grabbed his arm fast, my shoulder dropping under his weight. He was taller than me by at least half a foot and easily 70 pounds heavier. My legs had to spread wider to stay balanced. "Okay," I muttered, more to myself than to him. "We are going to take this slow." We made our way toward the door, one uneven step at a time. Every few steps he stopped and tried to talk. Something about the Anderson project. Something about a budget meeting next week. The words tangled together and faded into nothing. Outside, the air hit us like ice. Our breaths came out in white clouds. The parking lot was almost empty now, just a few cars under the yellow streetlights. My beat-up Toyota sat in the back corner, looking almost embarrassed next to the luxury cars. Mr. Peterson's Audi was there too, shining and perfect, keys probably in his pocket, waiting for a drunk man to make a terrible decision. Not tonight, I thought. At my car, I leaned him against the passenger door while I dug for my keys. The metal felt freezing against my fingers. I opened the door and tried to guide him in. It was like trying to fold a tall, confused person into a compact car. His head bumped the roof. His knees did not want to bend. His shoes scraped the frame. After way too much struggling and a lot of heavy breathing, he finally ended up in the seat. I reached across him, pulled the belt over his chest, and clicked it in place. He let me do it without a word. I closed his door, walked around, and slid into the driver's seat. For a second, with my hands on the steering wheel, I just sat there and stared through the windshield. What was I doing? This was my boss. One wrong move and I could ruin everything. My job, my income, my future. I thought about my grandmother again. Walking away is easy. I started the engine. We pulled away from the restaurant and into the city streets. The pavement was dark and wet from earlier rain, reflecting red brake lights and green traffic lights in blurry streaks. The city looked pretty from inside the car, but I felt anything but calm. Mr. Peterson was quiet at first. His head rested against the window. His eyes were half closed. "Turn here," he muttered after a while, lifting his hand. Riverside Estates. The name alone sounded rich. I followed his directions, turning onto a wide street lined with huge trees and even bigger houses. These were not just nice homes. They were mansions. 3-story brick places with perfect lawns and stone driveways. Every one of them looked like something from a magazine. "Which one is yours?" I asked. He pointed toward a large Tudor-style house on the left, cream-colored stone on the bottom, dark wooden beams on top, a curved driveway, and big double doors with wreaths still hanging, even though New Year's had passed. I pulled into the driveway and parked. For a moment, I did nothing. My hands stayed on the steering wheel. My heart thumped loud in my chest. Should I just help him to the door and leave? Should I ring the bell? Was I about to meet his wife in my wrinkled party shirt and cheap coat? Mr. Peterson fumbled with the handle and pushed his door open. His body tipped forward, about to spill onto the cobblestones. "Hey!" I shouted, jumping out of my seat. I caught him just in time. His weight crashed against me and I stumbled back, my shoes sliding on the stones. My arms shook with the effort of holding him up. "Okay," I said through gritted teeth. "I have got you, almost there." Moving him from the car to the front door felt like trying to carry a piano. His feet dragged. His shoes scraped against the driveway with each step. I kept one arm around his waist while his arm hung over my shoulders. We shuffled forward in an awkward sideways walk. The porch light glowed above the double doors, casting long shadows across the driveway. The house looked warm and safe. He did not. When we finally reached the top step, a new problem hit me. Both my arms were busy holding him up. I could not reach the bell. I lifted my foot and kicked the door once. A soft thump. Too soft. I kicked again, harder this time. Thump, thump, thump. For a second, there was only silence. Then I heard footsteps, fast ones, coming closer. The door swung open. A woman stood there, framed by warm light. She wore a silk robe over pajamas, her blonde hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. Her mascara was smudged under her eyes like she had been crying. The moment she saw her husband leaning against me, her whole face changed. Relief, fear, anger, love. All of it passed over her features in one quick, raw second. "Oh, thank God," she breathed. Her hand flew to her chest. I have been calling him for hours." She grabbed his free arm, and between the two of us we pulled him inside. The house smelled like pine and vanilla. A tall Christmas tree shimmered in the corner with white lights and silver ornaments. Everything was elegant and perfect, except the man we lowered onto the cream-colored sectional couch. He sank into the cushions, eyes closing, breathing heavy. The woman hurried to tuck a soft blanket around him. Her hands trembled as she did it. Then she turned to me. She really looked at me. "Thank you," she said. Her voice cracked on the words. "You have no idea how much this means." Most people would have walked away tonight. Quote, I opened my mouth to say it was nothing, but she shook her head like she already knew what excuse I was about to give. "No," she said. "It is not nothing." She swallowed hard. "Can I tell you why this matters so much?" she asked. "Because if I do not say this to someone, I think I might break." The way she was looking at me in that warm, quiet living room made my heart pound in a new way. Not just from the weight of what I had carried, but from the weight of what I was about to hear. And I had no idea that the way she thanked me that night would stay with me for the rest of my life. For a second, I thought about saying I should go. It was late. This was their home, their private life. I was just the guy from work who drove her husband here in a beat-up Toyota. But the way she asked that question, the way her voice shook when she said she might break, made it impossible to walk away. "Yes," I said quietly. "You can tell me." She looked past me at her husband. He was sprawled on the couch under the blanket, breathing deep, his face slack in sleep. Then she turned and walked to a big bay window that looked out at the dark street. She folded her arms around herself like she was cold, even though the house was warm. "My husband lost his brother 4 months ago," she said. "His name was Michael." I felt something twist in my chest. I had no idea. "They started Peterson and Peterson Architecture together," she went on, 18 years ago. 2 brothers with 1 drafting table and a cheap rented office. Michael was the artist. He could look at an empty lot and see the building that should be there. My husband made those buildings real. He handled the money, the permits, the schedules. They were partners in every way. She walked to a shelf near the fireplace and picked up a framed photo. She hesitated for a moment, then brought it over and handed it to me. 2 men in hard hats stood in front of a construction site, arms around each other's shoulders, grinning at the camera. One of them was a younger, more relaxed version of Mr. Peterson. The other looked a lot like him. Same strong jaw, same eyes, but with a wider, easier smile. They held a sign that said "Future Home of Peterson and Peterson Architecture." "They were so proud that day," she said softly. "They had no money, no backup plan, just this crazy belief that they could build something together." I looked from the photo to the man on the couch. It was hard to connect the happy guy in the picture with the exhausted one in front of me. "It was a heart attack," she said. "A massive one. It happened in the office on a normal Tuesday afternoon. Michael was at his drafting table, working on a medical center design. He just collapsed. My husband heard him fall. She took the picture back and set it carefully on the shelf like it was fragile. "He did CPR," she whispered. "He followed every instruction the 911 operator gave him. He breathed for his brother. He pushed on his chest. He begged him to wake up. But Michael was already gone. The paramedics said there was nothing anyone could have done." I swallowed hard. There was nothing to say to that. No words big enough. "My husband carries that day around like a stone on his chest," she said. "The grief would be enough on its own, but there is something else that makes it worse." She walked back to the window and stared out again. "They had a fight the week before," she said. "A bad one. There was a big commercial project. Michael wanted it. Your boss thought it was too risky. They said awful things they did not mean. My husband called him irresponsible. Michael said he had no vision. They did not talk for 5 days after that. 5 days of silence after 18 years of building everything together." Her voice dropped even lower. "Then Michael died. And those 5 days were suddenly the last chapter of their story. No apology, no chance to say I love you, just anger frozen in time." I felt sick. I looked at Mr. Peterson again, seeing him with new eyes. Since then, he has been different, she said. He works until midnight. He sleeps 3 or 4 hours at most. And he drinks. She said that last part like it hurt her mouth. I find bottles everywhere, she said. In his car, in his office, behind the books in his study, in the garage. He thinks I do not know, but I do. I see him disappearing from me inch by inch. She turned and faced me fully now. Her eyes were shiny with tears, but there was steel under the sadness. 3 weeks ago, she said, I found him passed out in his car in the garage at 2 in the morning. The engine was still running. The garage was filling with exhaust. My stomach clenched. If I had not woken up, she said, if I had not gone looking for him at that exact time, I would have lost him. Just like that. Another phone call, another body, another funeral. I made him promise he would never drive drunk again. He swore he would not. Tonight, when he would not answer, all I could picture was that garage. She looked like she might crumble right there on the polished hardwood floor. I sat by that window for 3 hours, she said. I called and called. No answer. I imagined highway patrol calling me. I saw his car wrapped around a tree. I saw myself planning another funeral. I did not know what to do. She took a breath that sounded like it hurt. Then you knocked, she said, and you were holding him up, and he was alive. She stepped closer to me and took my hands in hers. Her fingers were cold and shaking. So when I say thank you, I am not just talking about a favor, she said. I am thanking you for giving me one more night with my husband, one more morning, one more chance to fight for him. You think you just drove a drunk boss home, but you gave me time. I was sure I had already lost. My throat closed, my eyes burned. I had not cried in years, but right then it was a close thing. I just did what anyone would do, I said. But even as I said it, I knew that was not true. I had watched people walk right past him. No, she said, you did what a good person does. There is a difference. The kitchen felt like a safer place after all of that, so when she offered tea, I said yes. We walked in together. The room was big and sleek, all gray granite and stainless steel. The fridge was covered in photos held up by little magnet buildings. I saw Mr. Peterson and his wife on a beach. The 2 brothers at company events, laughing, hugging, alive. The kettle started to hum. She dropped tea bags into 2 white mugs and poured the hot water. The steam smelled like chamomile. He talks about you, you know, she said after a while. I looked up, startled. Not by name, she added, but he talks about someone at work who still treats him like normal. Someone who does not walk on eggshells around him. Someone who still brings him projects and ideas and jokes. I think that is you. I thought about all the times I had knocked on his office door, asking about a campaign, making small talk about the weather, just trying not to make it weird when he looked tired. I had no idea he noticed. People can feel something is wrong, she said, even if they do not know what. So they pull away. They avoid him. They think they are being polite, giving him space, but it just makes him feel more alone. She wrapped her hands around her mug. But you did not do that, she said. You stayed yourself. That matters. We sat in silence for a bit, sipping tea in that big quiet kitchen. I realized how lonely she must be. Watching her husband fall apart, holding everything together for both of them. When the clock on the microwave hit almost 1 in the morning, I knew I had to go. She walked me to the door. You reminded me tonight that there are still good people in this world, she said. I will not forget what you did. On the drive home, the roads were almost empty. The city looked softer, like someone had turned the volume down. My head was full of images I could not shake. 2 brothers smiling in front of a construction site. A man on his knees doing CPR on someone he loved. A woman sitting alone by a window for 3 hours, waiting for a phone call that might end her life as she knew it. When I parked outside my small apartment building, I stayed in the car. My phone buzzed. A new text from an unknown number. Thank you again for tonight. He woke up asking how he got home. I told him one of his employees cared enough to make sure he was safe. He smiled. I have not seen him smile in 4 months. Emily? I stared at the message. I had never known her first name until that moment. Emily. It fit her somehow. Warm and strong at the same time. I am glad he is okay, I wrote back. See you both at work on Tuesday. It felt small compared to everything that had happened, but it was all I had. Sleep did not come easy. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the way she looked at me when she said I gave her more time. I saw the way her hand shook when she tucked the blanket around her husband. I heard her voice when she said she was losing him in slow motion. Saturday felt off. I did laundry. I went to the store. I tried to act normal while my brain kept replaying that night in pieces. Sunday was worse. My mind kept jumping ahead to Tuesday. Would Mr. Peterson remember anything? Would he be angry I had seen him like that? Would he be embarrassed? Would he pretend nothing happened? Could he fire me just for knowing too much? By the time Tuesday morning came, my stomach was tight and my hands were shaking. I got to the office half an hour early. The building was quiet. The coffee in my cup tasted like nothing. People trickled in. Amanda, Kevin, Lisa, they all moved through their normal routines. For them, Friday night was just another company party that ended too late. At 9:15, the front door opened. Mr. Peterson walked in. He looked tired in a way I had never seen before. There were dark circles under his eyes. His hair was neat, his suit pressed, his tie straight. Any other day he would have looked like his usual self. But I saw it now, the crack in the armor. Our eyes met across the room. My heart picked up speed. He walked toward my desk. People noticed. Conversations slowed. Lisa looked up from her computer. Kevin stopped mid-sentence. "Hey," he said quietly when he reached me. His voice was rough, like he had not slept much or had done a lot of crying. "Do you have a minute? Can we talk in my office?" Every fear I had been carrying all weekend slammed into me at once. "Yes," I said, even though my mouth was dry. I stood up and followed him, my pulse loud in my ears, not knowing if I was about to lose my job or hear something that would change my life in a different way. His office door closed behind us with a soft click that sounded way too loud in my ears. He did not go sit behind his big desk like he usually did. Instead, he walked past it and sat in one of the chairs in front. Then he pointed to the other chair. "Sit," he said quietly. I sat. My hands were tight together in my lap so he would not see them shake. For a while, he did not say anything. He stared down at his hands, turning his wedding ring around and around on his finger. I could see his jaw working like he was trying to chew on words that did not want to come out. "I need to thank you," he finally said. His voice sounded rough and tired. "For Friday night," he added, "my wife told me what you did, how you got me home, how you stayed." "It's okay," I started, but he lifted his hand. "Please," he said. "Let me finish." I closed my mouth and nodded. He took a long breath, like he was getting ready to jump into cold water. "Friday was not the first time I got that drunk," he said. "It has been happening a lot, too much. My wife has been begging me to stop. I kept telling her I had it under control." He let out a short, humorless laugh. "I do not," he said. "I really do not." Hearing the words out loud from him felt strange and heavy. This was the man who always seemed sure of everything. Now he was telling me he did not have control over his own life. "She told you about Michael, didn't she?" he asked, looking at me. "Yes," I said softly. He nodded once, like that answer hurt, but he was not surprised. "I lost my brother," he said. "I lost my best friend and business partner, all in 1 hour. I kept coming to work. I kept signing papers, going to meetings, acting like things were fine. Everyone said I was strong." He shook his head. "I was not strong," he said. "I was numb. And when the numb wore off, I started drinking to put it back." His eyes were shiny, but he did not look away. "When I woke up on the couch Saturday," he said, "my head was pounding. I did not even remember how I got home. I thought I drove. I thought I broke my promise. I thought I could have killed someone." His voice shook on that last part. "My wife told me you drove me," he said. "She told me you got me into the house. She told me you stayed and listened to her. Then she cried. I have not seen her cry like that since the funeral." He looked down at his hands again. "We talked for hours after you left," he said. "Really talked. For the first time in months. She told me how scared she has been, how she sits by the window, waiting for my car lights, how she checks the garage in the middle of the night, how she feels like she is watching me die in slow motion." There was a beat of silence. "I knew I was hurting," he said, "but I did not realize how much I was hurting her too." He took another breath, this one a little steadier. "So Sunday morning, I did something I should have done a long time ago," he said. "I called a therapist. Her name is Dr. Rachel Chin. She works with grief and trauma. I have an appointment tomorrow at 4. He gave a small, tight smile that did not reach his eyes. "I am scared," he said simply. "I am scared that if I really start talking about that day, about Michael, about the fight, I will fall apart and never be able to put myself back together. But I am more scared of what happens if I do not try." I felt my eyes sting. I swallowed hard. "That is brave," I said. "Going to therapy, admitting you need help. That is real courage." He gave a quiet, broken laugh. "I do not feel brave," he said. "I feel like a guy hanging off a ledge by his fingers and hoping someone shows him how to climb back up." We sat there for a moment in a strange, heavy quiet that did not feel bad. It just felt real. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Of course," I replied. "Why did you do it?" he asked. "Why did you help me when everyone else walked past me at that bar? You could have gone home. You could have called a cab and washed your hands of it. Why did you stay?" Quote. I thought about it, really thought about it. It would have been easy to say, "I don't know," but I did know. "My grandmother used to say something," I said slowly. "She said walking away is easy. Staying when someone needs you, that is what separates good people from everyone else." I looked up and met his eyes. "I saw you sitting there alone," I said. Everyone just kept going. I could not be one more person who walked away. It did not feel right. He blinked hard. A tear slid down his cheek. He did not wipe it away this time. "Your grandmother was a wise woman," he said. "She tried to be," I said, my voice a little rough. He stood up, and for a second, I thought he was going to move behind his desk and end the moment. Instead, he stepped closer to me. I stood too. He did not reach out his hand to shake like in some formal meeting. He pulled me into a hug. At first I froze. This was my boss, hugging me. But then, I felt how tight his shoulders were, how hard he was holding on to me, like I was something solid in a world that kept shifting under his feet. "Thank you," he whispered, "for not walking away, for giving me a reason to try and fix this before it is too late." I patted his back awkwardly, then held on a little tighter. "You are welcome," I said, and I meant it in a way I did not have words for. After that, things slowly began to change. He started leaving the office earlier. Not at 5 on the dot like some people, but not at midnight either. Sometimes I saw him pack up around 6 and actually go home. He put a photo on his desk that had not been there before, the same one I had seen on the shelf in his house. Him and Michael, younger, in hard hats, arms around each other. It sat right next to his computer where he could not avoid looking at it. Some mornings we ran into each other in the break room. Before, we would trade a few quick words about projects and move on. Now, he sometimes stayed a little longer. We talked about the Bears, or the weather, or how crowded Chicago trains were getting. One morning, he surprised me. "Therapy is harder than I thought it would be," he said, stirring sugar into his coffee. "But it is helping, in ways I did not expect." I nodded, not pushing, just listening. "She keeps making me talk about the good things too," he said, "not just the day he died. The fishing trips, the stupid jokes, the way he laughed. I had forgotten some of that, or buried it." His voice softened. "It hurts," he said, "but it hurts less alone." He looked up at me. "Thank you again," he said quietly. One afternoon, about 6 weeks after the party, my phone buzzed during lunch. I was sitting in my car in the parking lot, eating a sandwich and scrolling my messages. It was from Emily. Wanted to give you an update. He has been going to therapy every Wednesday. We had dinner last night and talked about Michael for 2 hours. He cried, but it felt okay, like he was finally letting himself feel without drowning. You gave us hope when we were close to losing it. Thank you. I read that text 3 times. My chest felt full in a strange way. Here I was, sitting in an old car with crumbs on my shirt, and this message was telling me that my choice on one random Friday night had changed the path of an entire family. It was a lot to hold. You are welcome, I wrote back. I am glad things are getting better. I almost added, if you ever need someone to talk to again, I am here. But I stopped. She was my boss's wife. I was his employee. I did not want to cross lines that would make things messy. Still, I thought about her more than I expected. The way her eyes had filled with tears when she said she almost lost him. The way her voice shook when she told me I gave her more time. The way she held my hands like I was the only thing keeping her standing in that moment. I told myself it was just empathy, just caring, just being human. But there was a warmth there too. A quiet, dangerous warmth I tried not to look at too closely. 3 months after the party, Mr. Peterson asked to see me in his office again. This time, I was not scared. I had seen him cry, I had hugged him. Whatever this was, it was not about firing me. He was smiling when I walked in. A real smile, softer, lighter than I had ever seen on his face at work. I wanted to tell you something personally, he said. Emily and I went to Lake Tahoe last weekend. That is where Michael and I used to fish as kids. We scattered his ashes there. It was right, hard, but right. He looked at the photo on his desk, then back at me. I could not have done that a few months ago, he said. I was not strong enough then. Therapy helped. Time helped. But you started that path for me. I opened my mouth to say it was not because of me, but he raised his hand again. And, he said, there is something else I want to talk to you about, something that is long overdue. He walked around the desk and leaned against it, right in front of me. His expression was serious, but there was a spark in his eyes. I am promoting you, he said. Senior Marketing Manager. It comes with a raise and your own small team. You have earned it with your work, your ideas, your effort. But I would be lying if I said that night did not show me something more. My heart slammed against my ribs. Something more? I asked. It showed me the kind of man you are when no one is watching, he said. The kind of man my wife now trusts with my life. The kind of person I want leading people in this company. He smiled. Emily insisted we do something more than just say thank you, he added. She said you changed our lives, I agree. Quote, that was the moment I realized his wife's thank you was not just the tea in the kitchen, not just the text on Saturday, not just the way she looked at me that night. Her thank you was this. A promotion, a raise, a door opening in my life I never expected. And, though I did not admit it yet, something else I could feel growing slowly between us. Something quiet and warm that would make the next time I saw her feel very different. The promotion changed my life in ways I could see, and in ways I could only feel. On paper, it meant more money, a better title, and my own small team. My parents were proud. My friends joked that I was finally a real adult. At work, people started asking my opinion more. I got invited to meetings I used to only hear about secondhand. But under all of that, something else had shifted too. Mr. Peterson was different now. Still strict about deadlines, still serious when it came to clients, but softer around the edges. He smiled more. He asked people how they were doing and actually listened. He went home at a decent hour. Once, I saw him leave at 5:30 with a small paper bag in his hand. Date night, he said when he caught my eye. Emily's orders. I smiled back and watched him walk out, and for the first time, he did not look like a man running from his life. He looked like a man walking toward it. Every now and then, my phone buzzed with a text from Emily. First family dinner with no drinking. He toasted his brother with water, and we all cried. Thank you. He just came back from therapy. He told me a story about Michael the First had never heard. I feel like I am meeting both of them again. Today, he laughed so hard he had tears in his eyes. I just wanted you to know. I always wrote back something simple. That is great. I am happy for you both. He is doing the hard work. He deserves that peace. But every time her name popped up on my screen, my chest did that strange, warm twist again. I saw her only a few times. Once when she dropped off lunch for him, and he pulled me into his office to introduce us properly. "This is the man who saved my life and my career," he said, smiling. She laughed and told him to stop embarrassing me. But when our eyes met, there was something in her look that said she had not forgotten that night in the living room. Neither had I. Months passed. Chicago moved from winter to spring, from gray slush to actual sun. Mr. Peterson kept going to therapy. He talked about Michael without breaking apart. His drinking slowed to almost nothing. At the office holiday planning meeting, he poured himself sparkling water, and nobody said a thing. On a warm Friday evening in June, my phone buzzed again. It was Emily. "Hey, this is a little last minute, but we are having a small cookout tomorrow night. Just a few close friends. Mark, for the first time I saw his first name, really wants you there. He says you are part of the reason we are still us. I would love if you could come." Part of the reason we are still us. I stared at the words. Then I typed back, "I will be there. Just send me the time." Quote. Saturday evening, I found myself driving down the now familiar street of Riverside Estates, except this time my hands were not shaking on the wheel. I parked in front of the Tudor-style house and sat for a second, looking at it. Last time I had stood here, it was freezing. My boss was half-conscious, and his wife's eyes were full of panic. Now, I could smell grilling food and hear faint music from the backyard. Emily opened the front door before I could knock. She was wearing jeans and a light blue top, her hair down in soft waves instead of pulled back in a messy rush. She looked younger, lighter, like someone had taken a heavy backpack off her shoulders. "You made it," she said, smiling. "Wouldn't miss it," I replied. She led me through the same living room where we had laid her husband on the couch. The Christmas tree was gone now, replaced by plants and sunlight. The house felt the same and completely different at the same time. The back door opened onto a wide patio in a yard with string lights hanging overhead. A grill smoked off to the side. A few people from work were there with their families. Kids ran across the grass, chasing bubbles. Someone had set up a small speaker playing soft rock. Mark stood by the grill flipping burgers, a spatula in one hand, a glass of iced tea in the other. "Hey," he called when he saw me. "There he is." He put the spatula down and came over to give me a quick hug. "Glad you came," he said. "Eat a lot. I bought too much food." Emily told me I always overdo it. She is probably right. He grinned and walked off to joke with one of our co-workers. Emily handed me a plate and pointed me toward the food. We ate, we talked, we laughed. The evening felt easy in a way I was not used to. No formal conversation. No careful tiptoeing around grief. Just people enjoying being alive. Later, after the sun dipped low and most of the guests started packing up their kids and coolers, I found myself alone at the patio table, staring at the soft glow of the string lights. The air was warm. Crickets started their slow song in the bushes. "Can I steal you for a minute?" I looked up. Emily stood by the sliding door, one hand on the frame. "Sure," I said. She led me back into the house, but not to the living room this time. We walked into the kitchen. It looked the same, but there were fresh flowers on the island and fewer bottles on the counter. She set a glass of water in front of me and leaned back against the opposite counter. "You okay?" I asked. She nodded, then shook her head, then let out a short laugh. "I am," she said, "but I also have something I need to say, and I have been trying to find the right time all night." My heart beat a little faster. "What is it?" I asked. She looked toward the doorway like she was making sure Mark was nowhere near. He was still outside, laughing with someone as they put away chairs. "When we invited you tonight," she said, "it was not just because Mark wanted to thank you again. It was because I did too, in my own way." "You already thanked me," I said softly. "More than enough." "No," she said. "I told you thank you." "That is different." She took a breath. I want you to understand what you actually did, she said. That night, I thought I had already lost him. In my head, I was planning what I would tell people, how I would survive alone, how I would live in this house with all these memories and no Mark. Her fingers twisted together. And then you showed up at my door with him half falling out of your car, she said. You carried him when he could not walk. You let me cry in front of a stranger. You listened to things you did not have to hear. You gave me a few more hours with my husband. Those hours turned into months. Tonight turned into this little party in the backyard. She swallowed. You changed the direction of our lives, she said simply. You changed mine. I felt my throat tighten. I just did what? What good people do, she finished for me. I know, I remember. She pushed off the counter and stepped closer. Not too close, but closer than before. Her eyes met mine, and for a second, I saw all the nights by the window, all the fear, all the slow, hard healing. There is something else, she said, and I am going to say it because it has been in my chest for months, and I trust you not to make it complicated. My pulse hammered in my ears. Okay, I said quietly. When things were really bad, she said, I stopped believing in good men. Not just as husbands, but as people. I watched my husband disappear into pain. I watched his friends pull away. I watched coworkers avoid him. I started to feel like I was alone in a world full of people who only cared when it was easy. She looked right at me, and then there was you, she said. This young guy from his team who could have gone home, who could have said it was not his business, but who stayed, who carried him, who listened to me pour my heart out without looking away. Her voice dropped. I need you to know that you did not just give me back my husband, she said. You gave me back my faith that there are men who care when it is hard, men who stay, men who are safe. Heat flushed my face. I did not know what to do with words like that. Emily, I said, my own voice unsteady. I do not even know what to say. Quote, You do not have to say anything, she replied. Just let me thank you the way my heart has been wanting to. She reached out and took my hand. Her fingers laced through mine, warm and firm. It was not romantic in the way people kiss in movies. It was deeper. It felt like someone handing you their trust and asking you to hold it for a second. For a moment, the kitchen was silent. Just the quiet hum of the fridge and the distant sound of laughter from the yard. If things were different, she said softly, if I were not married, if you were not his employee, maybe this would be a different conversation. Maybe we would see where this kind of connection goes. My heart stuttered. Hearing her say out loud what I had not let myself think made the air between us feel charged. But things are not different, she said. And I love my husband. I want you to know that. I am fighting for this marriage with everything I have. You helped make it worth fighting for again. She squeezed my hand. So this is my thank you, she said. Not a secret affair, not something messy and broken. My thank you is this. You have a piece of my heart, the part that knows you are one of the reasons my family is still standing. I will never forget that. Ever. My eyes burned. I blinked hard, but one tear still escaped. She saw it and gave a small, sad smile. I care about you, I said quietly, as a person. As someone who has walked through fire and still knows how to be kind. That will not change either. She let go of my hand and stepped forward and wrapped her arms around me. The hug was warm and full and honest. No secrets, no lies. Just two people who had been through something intense together holding on for a second. I felt her whisper against my shoulder. Thank you, she said, for giving me back my husband. For reminding me that there are still good men in the world. I will never forget you. Or that night. Or this. When we pulled apart, there was a softness in her eyes that I knew I would see in my mind years from now. We walked back out to the patio together. Mark looked up and smiled at us like he had no doubt in either of us. He wrapped an arm around her shoulders and pulled her close, kissing the top of her head. She leaned into him, and I saw something in her face I had not seen the night I first met her. Peace. Later that night, Driving home under the city lights, I thought about what had happened over the past months. One drunk boss at a bar. One hard drive through wet streets. One scared wife in a silk robe. One choice to stay instead of walk away. I did not end up with some dramatic romance or wild secret affair. What I got was something quieter, and in its own way more powerful. I got to watch a broken man choose to heal. I got to help a woman find her husband again. I got a promotion I never expected. And I got a piece of gratitude so deep and honest, it felt like it settled into my bones. When I think about that night now, about how I drove my drunk boss home, I do not just remember pulling into that fancy driveway or catching him before he fell. I remember his wife's hands holding mine. I remember her voice when she told me I'd given her time she thought she had lost. I remember that hug in the kitchen, under soft light, when she thanked me in a way I will carry with me for the rest of my life.